Hi.
Toby and Kathy here, Cats Cove. Kat, we're in the middle of this digital Main Street project right now, which is really nice because we get to meet with all of these small businesses, small, medium businesses, things like that. One of the commonalities that we're finding a lot of businesses have is they have a website, right?
Or they don't.
Mm-hmm. But even for those that do have a website, a lot of businesses have created it.
Yeah.
Or had somebody create it for them. And they've got no idea how to tell if it's working or am I getting traffic? I mean, right? Businesses, it's like us, right? Is our website working? Well, does the phone ring? Do people come in? Are we making money, frankly, right? Like how do we evaluate that?
Yeah.
So we run into that a lot. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm leaning out of frame. We run into that a lot. What do you end up telling?
So there's a couple things I tell them, and a lot of it has to do with they don't know if it's working for them or they're about to start the process and they don't know what to ask for.
True. I'm about to spend a bunch of money and I'm terrified
and
because
how do I know if it's too much or too little.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that we say is if you're going through like a proposal with a web developer, to give you a bit more confidence and knowing that you're making the right decision, there's a few things we tell them. So the first thing is to do, if you're going in that process, is looking at past examples of what they've done, right? Like that's a clear example, or for some...
But how do I know what the web developer's done? What do you mean? Like looking at it's fine, but I can't tell what Cats Cove has created.
So I think the first thing is actually making sure that what they produce aligns with the look that you're going for, right? If they're like, oh yes, I make websites, and they look like they're from 1997, then it might not be the right fit for you.
Sorry, but you're then saying, can I look at a portfolio? Is that what you're telling them to do? Okay.
Portfolio, word of the day.
I'm trying to connect the thought that I think is rattling around in your tin can there and just hasn't made its way out.
Toby, James. So the next thing you do is ask them to break down the cost. So sometimes a proposal looks really overwhelming and it's got all this terminology that you might not fully understand. So you can hop on the phone with them and say, like, walk me through this. What does this mean? You're speaking in, web developer terminology. So can you walk me through this and help me understand the process a little bit more so that I feel like I understand how we're going through that?
But that's intimidating, right?
Because it is intimidating.
Because the concern is I'm making myself vulnerable because I'm telling this person that I'm about to give money to. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you explain it to me? What if the person doesn't want to? Or what if the business doesn't want to, the web developer?
That explains a lot, right?
What do you mean?
What's that relationship then going to be like? If they're not willing to sit down with you to go over the proposal, then really they're not willing to kind of do, a 10-minute deep dive in terms of what it means so that you can be on the same page. Is that somebody that you really want to be working with? This whole thing comes down to expectations and communication. A lot of the time we've heard from business owners, they work with a web developer and they say, then they charge me for this and this, or it took so long, or it's not really what I like. So when you start to just start the relationship from the beginning, having clear communications and expectations lined out, that's really going to help alleviate some of those bumps in the road that people often experience when getting a website done.
And really, that's kind of an important message then for a business owner is you're actually in charge of this process, not the person you've hired.
Yeah.
Right? They're the talent. They're the skill.
Executing it, but this is your thing.
Yeah,
right?
you're in charge of it.
You got to take some responsibility, even though it might seem intimidating.
Okay.
So the other thing from what they can do for you is essentially asking how are you going to integrate search engine optimization on my website? So when you say, how do I know if it's working for me?
Sorry, I'm going to stop you right there. Search engine optimization is also called
SEO.
Okay, because I run into a lot of people that SEO, and by the end of the conversation, they're saying MQR or it's not a familiar term for a lot of people.
And so basically, right? SEO is how is my website going to get found online. So it's great when you build a website, but if it's not working for you, then essentially, you just wasted a ton of money getting a new website that might look pretty, but if it's not working for you, and that's what SEO does to get found, then it's a waste of your time and money. So
building a storefront and putting it out in the middle of the woods and being surprised nobody comes and rings your doorbell. Yeah.
So it's the same thing as in terms of what tools are they going to do to integrate SEO for your website?
Okay.
And then another thing I would ask is what training you'll get, or what does this look like when we're done? So are you going to sit down with me face to face, or if we're doing it from far away, how are we going to actually, how am I going to learn how to update it myself? Or what's the maintenance plan after, right? Because a lot of times we go, well, then they disappeared after and I never heard from them again. So knowing kind of what access you have to that web developer after is a very important element in terms of that confidence that if there's any changes that need to be made or anything happens to your website, you have somebody that you can trust that you can go to.
Fair. Yeah, right, because it's one thing to spend all the money up front. You may be willing to spend the money even on the back end or years after.
Yeah.
But back to communication, right?
It's maintaining that relationship. And then another important question to ask is, what is not included in this pricing, right? So a lot of times business owners feel like they get dinged for extra costs, but again, nothing was communicated. So sometimes you might expect that the web developer is going to write your copy for you, the content, and they're not. Or if you need stock photos for your website, those cost like $10 to $30 a photo. So are they going to integrate that into the cost of their actual proposal, or is that an additional cost? So what are some of those elements that might be additional costs that you weren't expecting that you can now expect to have?
So would you advise then a business owner, just as I'm thinking about it, especially with stock photos and things like that, so if you're having a website done or you're looking to redo your website, should they be starting kind of with a wish list?
Yeah.
And then and then you take that wish list to the developer, and the developer says, if you want, right? I mean, it's like Christmas, right?
Yeah.
You want everything on your Christmas list. This is the price of it, right?
Exactly. And I think looking at other examples of websites, maybe within your industry that you like, that gives them a good idea about what it is you're looking for, and they'll say, well, this is like a membership element, that people can sign into. Do you want that? If you do, it's going to cost you more. So understanding the more you want, the more it's going to cost. And so, what kind of flexibility do you have with your own budget?
Okay. So, sorry, because we've talked about a handful of different things. Can you run through kind of the 5, 6, 7 things that we...
I have one more after this, but yes.
Okay.
So look at past examples. Ask them to break down the proposal for you. Ask them how they'll integrate SEO.
Sure.
Ask them what training you'll get. Ask them what's not included in their pricing.
Right.
And ask for confirmed timelines.
Sure.
So you might want to get this done. If you say, well, it doesn't matter, if I get it by spring, then a lot of service providers will say, okay, well, I've got these other clients who are banging at my door, wanting to get stuff done. So I'm not going to prioritize you if you tell me it's not a fast priority. And if you're okay with that, that's fine.
Might save you a nickel too, right?
It might, but if you say I need this done yesterday, it's going to cost you more money. And also then it's a quicker push, and you have to make sure that you're available to be able to respond to questions and inquiries that you get. So again, it's a two-way relationship.
If you're providing, if you're the business owner and you're responsible for copy and photos and things like that, you want to make sure you have that ready before you start that process. That's important.
Yeah. So again, it's and another element is Google Analytics. So that's the last one, just to make sure that they integrate that, so you can know how it's working for you as well,
and what you can do to change it.
Yeah.
Right? Or to improve it. Yeah. Okay.
So those are some things. Again, it comes down to expectations and communications. But if you're not feeling very confident in terms of that next step, those are some questions that you can ask. And even if you don't know it, you can just tell them, I don't understand this world. Can we walk through this together so I feel more confident as we move forward in this relationship? That's fair.
Is there any, I'm thinking of a business owner, because a lot of people don't know what they don't know as well.
Yeah.
So is there a way to kind of get an idea? Is it when do you know it's time to start redoing your website, or to get a website, or that kind of thing? How would you evaluate your website if you had one? I guess
you don't like it. You haven't looked at it in 5 months.
Sure. Yeah.
That's one element.
It's under the bed. You don't want to clean there. Right. Yeah.
It's like our spare bedroom.
There's a bed in there somewhere.
But essentially, it's also if you can go to Website Grader, like Google that, and Website Grader, you can put your website URL into it, and you'll see how it's working for you. And so that's a way to say, like, geez, man, like there's a lot of things, like it's not mobile friendly, or there's no SEO integrated into it. So I need to revisit that. That's a way of looking at making sure it's working for you, or your business has changed.
Fair. Yeah. Absolutely.
So those are the things to think about. Ask your website developer.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.